All right, guys. Now moving on to our dYdX segment. This week we have Sunny from Osmosis. Thank you so much for coming on. So I'm gonna dive straight into it. How has Osmosis worked with dYdX since the dYdX chain launched in October last year?
Yeah, we've been, having dYdX join the Cosmos ecosystem has been great. Uh, they definitely helped, bring in a lot of capital into the ecosystem. Getting Cosmos Native USDC. I think like half of the Cosmos Native USDC is on dYdX at this point, and then like 40% of it is on Osmosis. So, I think the two of us together are like making up quite a bit of that usage right now. And yeah, the team has just been really good doing, we've been helping them a lot from like the technical standpoint with like just technical support. We've been using the Cosmos SDK for 4 or 5 years now at this point, from Osmosis and before, and so yeah, just they lean on us for technical support, and but then they've really over the course of the last year or two just like massive improvement on their like technical side, and they're like some of the best SDK devs out there. On the product side, I think the biggest source of interaction today is that they use Osmosis stable swaps as the like for swapping between Ethereum native USDC and Cosmos native USDC. So if you're on Ethereum and you want to send USDC to dYdX chain, it sends it to Osmosis, swaps it to the Cosmos native one, and then passes it on to dYdX. So that's using a project called Squid that sort of enables a lot of that, but with Osmosis in the back end. But yeah, we're exploring, other things that we might be able to do in the future, whether it's like, it's probably not going to be for like probably not this year, but dYdX will probably eventually support multi-collateral systems, and so for liquidations, hoping we'll be able to work together to use Osmosis as the back end for a lot of those liquidations.
Osmosis in particular ended 2023 on a very high note with Q4 volume up like 250% or something crazy quarter over quarter. And 2024 has actually started off pretty well as well with $1 billion or more of volume for 3 months in a row. So what can you attribute to the rising attention and volume to Osmosis?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of new capital entering the ecosystem and a number of new assets uh, that have been much debated, much hyped up assets. So I think the beginning was probably with Celestia. So Tia Osmosis is the main DEX for Tia, which is obviously a very popular asset these days, and so I think Tia on a lot of days even has flipped Atom in volume on Osmosis. So historically, Atom has always been like the number one token by volume on Osmosis. But so yeah, with Tia, but then now last month we had Dimension, and in the coming months there's just a lot more projects in that, especially in that whole like modular ecosystem. Many of which will probably have their like DEX go to market be on Osmosis.
Gotcha. I know Osmosis has a lot of stuff on the roadmap for 2024, so we would love to hear a little bit about what you have in mind.
A lot of the focus is on just like increasing access to these assets, right? So both within the Cosmos ecosystem and beyond. So a lot of new assets coming in Cosmos. You have Barachain, Astria, Initia, like all these projects that people are very excited about. But then we're working with a lot of projects like there's a top 10 market cap asset that is activating IBC within the coming month, and so we're working very closely with them to be like their interchain go to market. But then working with like different Bitcoin bridges to I think Bitcoin is a massively undertapped market in the deck on the spot deck side. So how do we bring in Bitcoin and have that enter the DeFi ecosystem? And then finally, we're working on a lot of account abstraction stuff. So, I know a lot of people are working on account abstraction stuff these days, but I think most people are taking it from a very like infrastructure standpoint, where they're building like infrastructure or like and expecting apps to integrate with it. Because we have actually a user-facing product, we are starting from a very like, okay, what are the specific product features that we want to enable, and then building the account abstraction pieces to enable those specific features. So the first one is this thing we have called one-click trading, which basically means you can do trades without having to sign every single time. There are other apps that actually have this, including dYdX. So they were actually one of probably the first to do that. But what we're doing is adding a lot more security functionality to it, because the way that a lot of people implement this, it's a little bit dangerous. We're making it so, like, we're working with a company called Blockade and building all these security functionality to make it so that these one-click trading is much safer. And then we're working on a lot of like onboarding stuff. Our goal is, how do we get to the point that people can onboard into Osmosis without needing to install any sort of Chrome extension or anything like that. Or, we're working on a mobile app as well. But how do you start using the mobile app without needing to copy your private key from like one device to another? We're building out a lot of this kind of tech stack, and I hope it'll be used by more Cosmos chains as well. So, Zion is one Cosmos chain that's planning on using our stack, and I hope dYdX will eventually adopt it as well.
Nice. I love the focus on the user experience. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today, but thank you so much for coming on, Sunny. Now,
Thanks
moving
for
on
having
to
me.
our hot seat Cool Zone segment.